Hey, welcome back. It's Laura at Hyperstamper. I put together a really different kind of junk journal today using vintage embroidery here and vintage embroidered applique here, some vintage doily pieces, some trim, some vintage bric-a-brac, and then all of these ribbons that kind of coordinate with the beautiful needlework. And then on the back, I've just trimmed it down so it gives this lovely slanted look here. And that's all on top of a 1950s Zane Grey book. Now, this here is from an 1800s photo album that was really in bad shape. I did some repair work on it, but I was able to save this frame amongst a few others. And I put this beautiful 1880s photograph in it. And I love that on the back of the photograph, they took such care in the advertising on the back for the photographer. So this one is obviously the Royal Highness photographer and the Prince and Princess of Wales. And that's pretty prestigious. So that was S. Poole. So that slips right into the pocket there. Now you can pop that out if you want. And I've just glued that down. You can put in your own photo. But I just think it's so precious. It's not lovely? So I'm going to move my roses over and take you on a little journey through this beautiful junk journal before I put it in my Etsy shop, hyperstamper.etsy.com. And once again, I know you're all sick of hearing it, but in case you're new, everything in here is authentic antique and vintage ephemera. There's no fakes or copies or digitals or commercial products. Everything is truly old and some of it even historic. So this is a great piece of a huge envelope. Maybe even the wrapping on a box, because it would have been quite expensive back in the 30s to send something that was, almost $1 to send. That's pretty cool. And then we've got this wonderful little children's book page. Look at the two girls walking around the farm animals. This is a 1950s receipt that Stacy sent me. And this is from a vintage botanical book. Look at this little beautiful white poppy. It's one of my favorites. And this is an antique music sheet, some folks. We got a 1950s bingo card here, and that is authentic as well. And you can have all kinds of fun upcycling that. And this is from the 50s, this one. 50s? Yes, this one's from the 50s. Just really fun place for you to journal. Little baby card, quite sweet and pretty. And this pocket here has another one of these awesome vintage Birds of America book pages. And again, this one here is for nuthatches, and this one is for swallows. Look how pretty. Isn't that lovely? I love the little tab there. I just love it. You could put that in a frame. It's absolutely spectacular. I am a very avid bird watcher. And this here is from 1887 Chatterbox. Look at this beautiful woman on the beach looking for clams, I'm imagining, with that basket on her back. And this is from the 1850s, the the school architect book. And it's a whole book filled with how they would build desks and inkwells, and in this case, just all kinds of things, stairs, buildings, just awesome. This is a hand-typed news article from 1893, and I love the red and black typewriter ink used. Remember the old ribbons. Now in this pocket here, that beautiful crochet there, is two daring lovers swim for their lives. Beauty and the Beast. Look at that. Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful. And this gorgeous, gorgeous picture here of the mom and baby on the other side. Just lovely. And that is 99 years old. Yes, you heard it here. 99 years old. Another wonderful children's book page, and I did some swirly stamping there. Pocket here is very sweet with the farm animals and the cats and dogs. And then this here is from 1920, and that is a children's book page that I turned into a little pocket, and I put in a cheesy old recipe from 1955. There you go. That is not something you want to see at a dinner party these days, but hey, in the 50s, it probably looked better in person than in this photograph. But I think they're fun. I really do. This is from a botanical vintage book here, Pussy Willows and Maidenhair Tree. Oh, ginkgo. Cool. Another one of my antique flowers. And then this is my vintage edu-card here. This one is N for nuts, because I'm a little nuts. And then this here is a 100-year-old bank note. I love the fonts on there. And this is just a vintage postcard. It's not antique like most of mine, but it is vintage, and it's just really, really pretty. St. Catherine's. And that is all on top of a vintage school book on shorthand. This here is from the 60s or 70s. I couldn't find a lot out about it, but I just love the orange color of it. Hickory Farm Sweet Hot Mustard. And I believe it's from Ohio, printed in the US. And then this one here is just a really great old, look at the boxing on there. I couldn't have done it better myself. Lots of white space there to journal on. And of course, that's on top of that handwritten thesis page. I've been using them a lot lately. And this is the cover of a school book. Isn't that cool? I couldn't save it, so I peeled off the cloth from the board and used it as a pocket. This is really cool. And we've got a 1930s flinch card here. I can change the number. And this is a prescription pad. And this would be probably from the 60s. And it says 1 tablespoon vinegar and 1 quart of water may be doubled. That is his prescription. I would like to know what for, but there you go. That is pretty cool. It's hard to find old prescriptions. This is another vintage botanical book. It's a gardening book, sorry. And now, do you remember The Wizard of Oz, the original? There is Ray Bolger. He was a famous actor, and he was actually the Scarecrow. So this came from a 1940s Theater Arts magazine page, and that was a full spread on him. Very neat. And then we've got a little vintage card here. She almost looks like Holly Hobbie, but it's from the 70s. And this is from the 20s or earlier. And that is the colonial made fastener card, excuse me. I got a frog in my throat. And then this tag I made out of a book cover, and you can journal on the back of that as well. And more botanical pages here, vintage, more Hogarth etching here from 1856, children's book page, fun cluster. Look at that beautiful interior spine. I love the texture of it. This is a photograph from 1940s. I can tell by the scalloped edging. And there's a lovely lady here. Look at her pretty hat and her coat. I'd wear that coat today. That's gorgeous. And this came from a 1960s Things to Make and Do book that you can do with wooden spools. You can make a snake. And a really great antique set of stamps there from Switzerland. This here is another one of, oh, look, there's Elvis Presley. Wow. Easy, easy, easy. Win hundreds of dollars worth of prizes. Yes. That came from a 1950s teen magazine. And then this came from that early 1900s Billy Whiskers book here, and some child got to paint it. This was the painting section. It's pretty fun. Nice job they did. And there's the goat on the airplane. And then this here is another one of these great 1951 diary pages. And this was one that a mother listed her baby's weight and how many waters and feedings they had. And I made this wonderful little cluster page down here on top of that 1940s Theater Arts magazine page. Found that in a book, The Greatest Things. You can list them here. And more of that etching from Hogarth, 1800s. That's just a really cool piece I found in a children's book. And fun little vintage pocket down here. And this is just another great vintage page that you can journal all over because there's lots of white space. Bicycle in the countryside there. And then this here's another vintage gardening page. And this is the spine of a great book. I've long since used many of the pages from in here. How to Dance. Isn't that great? That is quite old. And this is from another Zane Grey book, The Light of Western Stars. Another children's book page here. This one's from the 40s. That's really pretty, from the early 1900s. And then this is also from a 1930s children's book page, and antique paper on the back for journaling. And little fella here doing his artwork, cleaning baby doll. I hope it's a baby doll. And then this is from the 1890s, just a really great poem there, The Castle by the Sea. And that brings us almost, oh, that does bring us to the end. This is a book from the 50s or 60s. I'm sorry, I do forget. And it's a book from the movie, The Last Days of Pompeii. So they put out the movie and then they put out this book. And there's one of the pages from the book. It's adorable. So I hope you love this as much as I loved making it. Come back soon and I'll have more tomorrow. Bye for now.